So we finished last time showing that we hadn't quite reached the point of fixing in these blocks into the top of the piers. So I'm going to have a look at doing that, or a few of these this evening, with a view to just getting my process in place. And let's see how much progress we make. So as you can see, we've got the block, we've got the damp-proof membrane, we've got these studs here, which are got the bolts that go, they're recessed in. So the plan is to just take this off, mark the bolt so we know the depth, and we've got the we've got this anchor here, so we can just pop that into the into that gun. We can fill the hole as appropriate, and then we can pop the stud in. So it's just kind of getting a sense of, well, how much of this stuff do I need to fit in the hole, and then to thread the anchor in, how much do I need to support the anchor when it's in? Do I need to have something to stop it falling down, or will it just sit in there as required? And then we're actually going to have to drill out the holes a little bit so that we can get the socket spanner in there. I've actually got a nice deep socket there. Just my normal sockets weren't quite going to be deep enough, so I can use the impact driver to tighten that up. So let's see how this goes. Time to get the first of the chemical in. So as per the instructions, we've got rid of the first 10 centimetres or so. So we draw that down into the hole. There, then we screw these in. Maybe a little bit much on these first ones. Just get a bit of cardboard just to clear that up. There we go. Similar exercise here. Just probably won't quite fill it up as much. I think I'd recommend some of these to work with this stuff. That's going off now. So I need to get this 19mm socket in here, and as you can see it's not going in. So I'm just going to open up these holes a little bit, fairly carefully. Let's see how this goes. It's going to be quite hard to get it centered. So I've got the wood blocks adjusted now. To be careful with the height of the bolts, I think, because I have to drill these out a little bit. And now that's a sufficient drying time. We can just lock them down, and then they get stuck against the wood, which is a real pain in the backside. There we go. So yesterday we completed the joists. So we've got a couple of extra joists apart from the normal 400mm on centre that we've got across the whole of the floor. We've got one area where we've got triple joists, and that goes under the partition wall itself, and then also wanted joists centred over the foundation and maintain the 400 on centre. So we've ended up with 3 there. Probably a bit unnecessary, but you know, there we go. And then we got a double joist as well. Maintain 400 on centre and have one centred over the foundation. So those don't have straps because they're supported by the foundation blocks themselves. But then we have strapping on all of the rest. So at each end we've got straps. And then this morning I've been through and put in the supporting blocks for the insulation. So we've got one at the end, one in the middle, and one at the other end on the side to support the block and just make sure it doesn't drop out the gap. I'll obviously try and make them fit as tightly as possible, and just fill in any gaps with expanding foam as necessary, then foil tape, and then we'll put the plywood on the top. We had a few problems with the floor. I think think I made some bad decisions early on which kind of screwed us over. So I hadn't bought tongue groove plywood, and then I was doing some reading and found that this is probably recommended for a floor, just because it gives you that extra transfer of the forces into the it's more distributed across the boards, so you'd have less flexing in between the joists at the joins. And so I had the bright idea of trying to route my own tongue groove on the boards I bought, but this didn't work because it was tricky to get it with any level of precision. You want to get that stuff from the factory. So I'd laid a couple of boards with that, and then ended up having to cut the tongue off the first row, which meant it wasn't quite square, which is kind of, we've ended up with having to put things like this slither in, which isn't great, but it's still all over the joist. It's got a few gaps in it, you can see, but nothing we can't deal with. But I think it will serve its purpose. This isn't going to be the final floor, so it's going to get covered up. So I'm not too bothered that it looks terrible, but it feels pretty strong. A few jumps. Yeah, it's pretty sturdy. So we're happy with that.